Good morning, Bucknuts. It is Thursday, October 7th, 2021. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. If it's Thursday, that can mean only one thing. The lovely and talented Steve Wiltfong, 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting, checks in. The Gem City is overcast. How about the capital city of Indiana?
Man, it was raining all day yesterday. Rained out a 7U fall baseball game, but we have good weather today, and we're sending it down I-70 through Dayton all the way to Columbus. Good fall weather.
As a sports writer growing up, the number one sport I did not want to cover was baseball. No clock and outdoors ruins your spring. However, one thing that will not ruin your fall, Ohio State hosts Maryland this weekend. The Buckeyes have seemed to hit their stride. We will talk about them as a team with Steve in a bit after the break. First, let's head into Steve's wheelhouse. Ohio State will host a number of visitors this weekend. We're going to highlight two of them. One is Carson Tate, wide receiver from IMG. You've done a ton on this guy. It does feel like he is down to two schools, and there's a theme developing here. The Buckeyes versus the Fighting Irish. What's your vibe on Carson Tate? Do you think he would fit into Ohio State's elite receiver room?
Well, Carson Tate's arguably the top receiver in the 2023 class. He's so polished, terrific hands, smooth route runner, uber confident. He can fit in anywhere and push the room. No matter how talented a room is, he's going to come in and push that room, and he'd be a major pickup for Ohio State or Notre Dame, and obviously he's prioritized by both. I think there was a time where Ohio State had the clear momentum in this recruitment. I think that Notre Dame, at the very least, has made it interesting. And it's a big opportunity for Ohio State. You know, he visited a couple times now. He gets a chance, per Bill Kurlick and the Bucknuts staff, to see Ohio State in a game atmosphere.
He was at Notre Dame this past weekend. How did they do rolling out the red carpet?
Yeah, I haven't talked to Carnell or anybody close to him since the Notre Dame visit, so I don't know how much of the needle was moved. You know, Notre Dame hosted a lot of big-time prospects in the 2023 class, and Ohio State's in on several of those guys as well. So he was able to continue to build his relationship and friendship with some of those guys as the players in 2023 get to know each other.
As a quick aside, we know that one game does not a recruitment make, but Notre Dame losing at home to Cincinnati, another Midwest team that does not share their profile nationally, do you think that hurts them on the trail?
No, I mean, I think it's kind of a similar deal to Ohio State losing at home to Oregon. You know, it's not a bad loss. Cincinnati's a top 10 football team. And Notre Dame made some mistakes in that game, and maybe it's a different outcome. You know, it's football. It's Saturday. You don't win them all. And you know, Notre Dame had a lot of big recruits on campus, and certainly it would have been better for them in that moment, as recruiting is a game of inches, to get a win. As I'm sure that the locker room and the mood wasn't as strong as it would have been had they won the ball game. But everybody loses games. Even Alabama has lost some games.
Getting to the other visitor, I want to lament some things here. It seems like Ohio State gave a good chase for defensive tackle Chris McClellan out of Oklahoma. Some crystal balls ran towards Ohio State.
They led. They almost had him.
Even worse, and now he's going to go to Oklahoma. Curtis Perry, Alabama defensive tackle. Ohio State had a crystal ball roll for him. He visited Alabama. Shocker, he's going to Alabama. Which brings us to A.J. Harris. Alabama native, has visited Ohio State. He's visiting this weekend again. Why should I get my hopes up for someone when Alabama can go in there in a weekend and just get him?
Well, I do think Alabama and Clemson have done a really nice job with A.J. Harris, but so has Ohio State. He's already visited, had a great visit. He's a fit. I mean, he's a personality fit at Ohio State. You know, it's a school that's produced at the position, and it's a school that plays on the biggest stage, and they have a lot of what he's looking for off the field. I mean, when I met A.J. Harris, Notre Dame was one of the first schools he mentioned. So he's a kid that's not region locked. So, this is an opportunity for Ohio State to, remain in the forefront of this recruitment.
When it comes to the state of Ohio, if Ohio State wants you, I assume you're going to Ohio State. I will give the Crimson Tide their due as well there. Let's finish off the recruiting chatter with this. You talked recently to a guy who a lot of people have as their number one guy on the board on defense. That is Iowa safety Xavier Nwankpa. I loved his quotes about Ohio State, saying that going against the Ohio State receivers in practice would make him great, and that they're recruiting him for the bullet position. He's the blueprint for that position if you were going to design it. After talking to him, give us your overall vibe on Nwankpa.
Well, I think that for Xavier, he's always been patient with this process and has wanted to dot as many I's and cross as many T's as possible, and have as many conversations and take as many visits as he can to make the most informed decision. And he was able to take some official visits in the summer, saw Ohio State and saw Notre Dame in that capacity. And at one point, I thought those were the two clear favorites, and coming off officials to those places, that makes sense. I think Ohio State was the leader heading into the fall. But that doesn't discount the fact that he had great interest in other programs, and Notre Dame is one of them. But Iowa has surged in this recruitment. If you had asked me in June if Iowa had a chance to sign Xavier Nwankpa, I would have said no. But starting in July and certainly this fall, I think Iowa's really made up a lot of ground and is very much in the middle of this recruitment, and obviously made his top three. And it's a legit top three, in my opinion. I think he can see himself at all three schools. At Ohio State, that's where he has the best relationships with his peers, the guys in his class. He's connected with those players for a long time. And I think one of the reasons why I think Ohio State led in the summer is because Xavier could see himself playing with those guys, not to mention, Ohio State's pedigree, their stage, and what they do for their athletes off the field. Notre Dame, you putting him in the Kyle Hamilton frame of mind. Kyle Hamilton's a special play. Notre Dame's defense is playing at a high level. Kyle Hamilton's a lock to be a first-round pick, if not a top 10 pick. Notre Dame's got a lot going for him in that recruitment. Marcus Freeman has done a really good job of building a rapport with him, among other members of Notre Dame's staff. And then, Iowa, proximity to home, the way they're playing, Coach Phil Parker's defensive pedigree, local NIL opportunities, knowing the players in the locker room perhaps better than any other place. And then just the fact that Iowa's playing at a high level, I think there's a lot of excitement around that program. And so this one is tight. I think one of the reasons why he hasn't committed is because he doesn't know what he's going to do. So he's going to go see Iowa this weekend for his official visit for the Penn State game. Then he's going to go back to Notre Dame for the USC game. And then he's going to come back to Ohio State for the Penn State game. And we'll see where the chips fall after those visits. I would think that Notre Dame and Ohio State will do as much as they can with those return visits to give those trips official visit-like feels, even though it won't be an official visit. So it's not like they can take them out for surf and turf. They can have meetings with them and get them around their players and things of that nature.
You mentioned it. This is really interesting because I can make a really good argument for all three schools. Iowa, the home school, and Iowa's actually done a real good job producing safeties over the years. You've got Kyle Hamilton at Notre Dame right now, is going to be arguably a top 5 pick, and then Ohio State has been DBU for a while. So this is one to watch. Certainly a sweepstakes we will keep an eye on. We'll come back and talk about this weekend. All right, we are back. Normally we ask Steve to pick the Ohio State game each week, but this week there is a Big Ten tussle of large proportions. Speaking of the aforementioned Xavier Nwankpa, we said he'll be there. Penn State heads to Iowa. Both teams are undefeated. How do you see it going down?
Well, it's tough to go into Kinnick and leave there with the win, especially the way that Iowa's playing. I mean, Iowa has forced 16 turnovers this year. They've really capitalized on taking the ball away. So if Penn State, I think Penn State's offense has more firepower. And so if they can take care of the football, I still like Penn State, but nobody is taking care of the football against Iowa this year. And so that's kind of the tail of the tape there. If Penn State if Sean Clifford can hit on those potential big plays, they're going to have a couple opportunities where, a Jahan Dotson gets behind the defense or a Parker Washington gets behind the defense, and he's got to hit those throws. You can't miss those opportunities. It's going to be a tight game. Take care of the football, and I like Penn State, but Iowa's taken the football away from everybody they've played this year. They can run the ball with Goodson, who's one of the best backs in the Big Ten. And then Spencer Petras has taken care of the football. He's only thrown one interception this year. But I just think I like Penn State. I like Penn State, but if they lose, it'll be because they turned the ball over.
Yeah, this is a real pick-em for me. It feels like every game is a referendum on Clifford, and this game will be too. So definitely one to watch. For the home team, Ohio State hosts the Fighting Turtles. They are a 3-touchdown favorite exactly. Do you think they'll cover?
I do. I think that Iowa kind of put a beating on Maryland. It'll be interesting to see how Maryland recovers from that football game because they were just outmatched in any shape or form for that game. So I like Ohio State to roll, and I think Ohio State's going to start hitting its stride.
I happen to agree with you. It doesn't help that Maryland lost their best receiver either. Let's crack some shells. We appreciate Steve stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Take care, y'all. See you on the front row.